this is the ceiling. And I think we're all witnessing the breaking of that ceiling. And I think we can see by the fact that Dr. Julie and Judy is here, who are both the kind of eminent scientists in their field, and they've come into the ME field and they're starting to research it. So I really think that there's a lot of hope here, and the same applies for fibromyalgia. You know, they are, as the lady was just pointing out, they are very similar conditions. We work them up in very similar ways, and if the ceiling breaks for ME, the ceiling will also break, I think, for fibromyalgia. So we have a look, autonomic dysfunction, priority 1 for the MRC. Okay, it shows that there is an association between conditions, hypertension, reduced heart rate variability, alterations in the hormone system, and alterations in the stress system. Okay, so this is what Dr. Julie was talking about. He also talked about cognitive function, fatigue, obviously, but this is the big one, I think. Immune dysregulation. And I want to read through this with you if you don't mind. There is evidence for a disturbance in innate and adaptive immunity, i.e. the immune system, in CFS-ME, including alterations in cytokine profile, absolute and functional alterations in T cells and natural killer cells, occurrence of autoantibodies, the lady was talking about autoimmunity, allergic reactions that may explain some of the manifestations of fatigue and flu-like symptoms. And this is the line that gets me, and this is where I am at the moment. A number of infectious and environmental exposures have been associated as triggering these changes. Okay? And that's what I'm going to go on to talk about. Now, just before I do it quickly, this is a study that was published by Utah State University, and it shows that with this infection, a West Nile virus infection, it's a mosquito-borne infection, that there is an autonomic disturbance there. Now, there's lots of studies like this, hepatitis C, HIV, they all show that the autonomics are affected. But interestingly here, in the animal study, there was no damage to nerves at all. So there was quite marked autonomic problems, no damage to the nerves. Okay, so it's a very interesting thing that a virus can be there, not damage the nerves, and still cause massive symptoms and effects. So the objectives of this talk, I want to discuss the pathophysiology, which is basically when I'm sitting behind my desk looking at my patients, what's going through my mind, okay, what I'm thinking about the individual. And I want to discuss how that relates to treatment for you guys, okay? So the pathophysiology. So, the word toxicity comes out a lot, okay? It's a modern illness, okay? We think that if there is an infectious agent, it's your vulnerability to that infectious agent that's important, okay? And what we try and discern at the initial consult and through various questionnaires and such like, is whether the nervous system has been poisoned by that toxin. Okay? If it does, it makes things like sensitivity states more likely. It makes things like cardiac contractility poorer. It makes the autonomic system functionally a bit lower. If it's immunotoxicity, then you're looking at the infection. You're saying, look, the immune system's not working because of a poison. Let's see if we can find the bug, let's see if we can treat the bug, and we'll try and get rid of the toxin over time. Metabolic toxicity. Now this is an interesting one. This is, a lot of individuals would say this is the shared pathway for the neuroimmunotoxicity. Okay? This is that the body metabolizes things, so it takes food in, converts it to energy, and then that energy is used for various functions in the body, producing proteins and such like. At any one of those stages, a toxin can block the pathway. Okay? And the thought is that if it blocks a pathway in a nerve cell or in an immune cell, you can get this range of dysfunction. And we've shown, and Dr. McLaren Howard, if any of you know him, he's shown repeatedly that you can often get these chemicals mixing in with the DNA, preventing the DNA from methylating properly, and that is the DNA from reading properly, and you can have quite marked effects from that. So if it is metabolic toxicity, if we're very sure of it, it's better to take a functional approach, okay? It's better to map the metabolism. You can do organic acid tests, you can do neurotransmitters, you can do various tests, map it out, and then try and correct those functional pathways, because that then can correct the neurotoxicity and the immunotoxicity. So, and these are the kind of patients, if you identify them in your clinic, they will be the ones that will respond to nutritional supplements, okay, likely to. Carnitine, for example, some patients will respond really well to it. Magnesium, N-acetylcysteine, okay. This is different from neurotoxicity, okay. Now there's the metabolic side of neurotoxicity, but there's also, we think, direct disruption to the nerves, okay. For metal toxicity in almost a mechanical way, disrupts nerve impulses. In a chemical way, from things like, you probably all have heard of candida and yeast, and it produces metabolites, makes your brain a bit foggy, and that is a neurotoxicity that's happening there. There's other pathogens in the gut that also can lead to those things as well. And certain foods can also be toxic, okay? We're talking about gluten before, gluten-free diets. Gluten can actually have toxic effects. Not so much allergic effects, but toxic effects. So it's an interesting thing. And then you've got monosodium glutamate, you've got all the other preservatives that can act like toxins as well. And interestingly, I've had some patients who all we've done is take off preservatives, and they've started to recover. And they've started to recover all the way back, just from taking away the stuff that should never have been in the diet in the first place, really. Okay, there's also receptor blocking, receptor activation, stimulation, and then I think Dr. Julie mentioned this before, toxic neuropathies, and you can also have small fibre neuropathies. That's where the actual peripheral nerves are slightly damaged. They will recover over time as long as you take the toxin out. Now, for me, this is the big one for me. Okay, I see it in both autism, I see it in other environmental illnesses, ME, fibromyalgia. This for me is the big one, and it's a great privilege to be in the same speaking regime as Judy, and I really look forward to hearing what she has to say about the immune system in relation to ME. Okay, so it can actually be directly in a consequence of the nervous disruption. So if you have a toxin that poisons the autonomic system, then the vagal tone will drop, and that is the part of the system that controls your response to infection. So it could actually be neurotoxicity that's leading to the immune dysfunction, okay? Or again, it could be enzyme disruption. It could be an impaired ability of the cell to eat up the bugs, if you like, impaired white cell function, and reduced cell-mediated immunity. Toxins are known to cause these things, okay? Pesticides, flame retardants, benzene, wood preservatives, heavy metals, okay? And generally this is what we see. If on the mild end of things, you see an inability to fight fungus, okay, particularly in the gut. And we think it's something to do with phagocytosis, we're not entirely sure, but sometimes there's just yeast there. If it progresses, then there might be bacteria there as well, and then eventually we think that the tipping point is the viruses, and a lot of the severely affected we do think have viruses there. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about the treatment. I know there's nutritional practitioners in the audience, there's very well informed family members and patients, and I want to try and talk to you about things that you guys can do, preferably with some nutritional support or your practitioner support, to prepare yourself, prepare your body. And some people will recover from these simple interventions, okay?